Okay, I've got 2:30, 3:30 Eastern. I'm Brenda Camp. I'm your room host. If you have any questions for Miss Brenda as we go, I'll keep an eye on the chat box. If you have signed in through UK Zoom, you should not have to put your name in the chat box to get credit for coming. I was told there's door prizes, so absolutely make sure that you're signed in through UK Zoom. One way to know is if your name says guest beside it on the participation or the participants list, you possibly are not signed in. So you may want to look into that. But let's get started, Miss Brenda.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for showing up. I said I was so impressed that this late in the day and this topic, and here you are, you're troopers. This session is about the reentry program, and I thought about a lot of how to introduce it. And there's an old saying, "Saved by the grace of God, there goeth I." Have y'all ever heard that? And it essentially means that we never know what our future might bring, or if under the same circumstances, we might not be in that same predicament. And I think that does help happen to a lot of people. One of our homemakers, for example, she's a writer for our local paper, and her best friend had this son, and he, very accomplished man, wealthy, great job, everything going for him. And he walks in one day and he finds his wife in bed with another and loses his temper and kills him, shoots him. He ended up in the federal prison. So this homemaker, who is, they were just fine, upstanding people. She and her friend went together and they built they gathered funds and worked together to build a visitor center so that the parents could come and visit their people who were in the prison. And I give that illustration to just show that we don't know from whence other people come from and what has happened to them that has caused their fate in life. But we do know that in each county, you're held responsible for whatever is happening there and in your region. And that is true of your demographics. That's true of your whole program effort has to be inclusive. You know, we really work hard in Extension to be very inclusive. So a few years ago, in the Northeast area, part of District 1, we have 2 federal prisons, one on either end of what we call Highway 23. And so we talked about it at one staff and decided that we would work together to try to reach out to them. And the best way we could think of to do that was a newsletter. So we brainstormed with them and with the leadership there. And as it turns out, when you're in prison, if you get to get out, then there's a process to do that. There is like a period of time, and it could be 12 months, it could be 18 months. But that period of time is referred to as reentry. So we created a reentry newsletter. And the idea being that every month we would send them out a topic that we were familiar with to help guide them along their way. And I thought one comment from the coordinator of that program, at least in our area, one comment that she said that really stuck out in my mind was, we were trying to figure out what topics do we in Family Consumer Sciences have that would be pertinent to their situation and reentry. And she said, anything and everything, because a lot of them have never been exposed to all those things that we consider, well, we thought everybody got exposed to foods and nutrition and cooking, at some point in time, but they don't. Financial management, preparing for jobs, all that sort of thing. They're not prepared. And we have been very blessed because we have been exposed to usually a good support system, a good network. We had good parents or good family or someone who kind of led us down the right path. And we don't necessarily have that. So here's my little presentation. Our mission became, what can we do to share with others these basic skills? They're starting over. Can you imagine being pulled out of society for the past 10 years and then having to come back? Just think about FaceTime, your just during Zoom, during this coronavirus alone, our world has absolutely changed in 6 months. So put years to that. Years you're in there, and then you re-enter, and what in the world are you going to see? It's a whole different world. So we looked at family consumer sciences, and we tried to figure out what are the life skills that we can share. So I'm going to go ahead and admit Judy. Did you see that? Just because it popped up.
Secondary one, it's been there. I don't know what's happening with
I don't know
the
what that
other
is, but I
Judy.
clicked it. It's gone now. All right, so that's the reentry program, and that was our goal, is to try to reach out to this particular audience on the basic skills that we have in family consumer sciences. So I am trying to scroll down, and it's not letting me. I heard someone else have that problem. When we started, Leslie Workman, Andy Sloan, myself, Sarah Congleton, Eugenia Wilson, Olivia Ferris, and Laura Pullen are the agents who worked on that. And we've been down some agents, so we kind of had to double up on some of the months. And what we learned too about parody and recording the contacts that we made, we only recorded the ones when we wrote the newsletter. So if I wrote one newsletter, I only recorded the contacts that one time. But if I wrote two, I recorded them twice. So this is the team that did it, and they did a great job, if I might say so myself. The south end of our area, there were 1,288 that received the newsletters, and on the north end, there were 1,100 that were delivered, and we did 12 consecutive months. We also had a few spots in between, one group that was called Recovery Works, and then another spot that was called Journey House Recovery Center, and that was in Greenup County. So there was a few more that we added in there, and that means that we basically reached 2,428 people with this, depending on how many newsletters they received, up to 12 issues. The topics that we selected were having a positive attitude, and we picked these from curriculum that we thought, if we wanted to go into the actual facility, we could have more material to work with on that topic. And the idea at first was that when I wrote a newsletter for that particular month, that I would go in and make a personal presentation that particular month, and so on and so forth. That kind of fell through with almost everyone except me. I actually did do that. I went to the facility. I experienced what it was like to present face-to-face with that audience, and I learned some things from that experience. One of the things that I learned was we need these written in Spanish, because there were a lot of Hispanic there, and they had to, if there had not been someone there who spoke both English and Spanish, they couldn't have understood what I was saying. And I didn't realize that until I had that experience. They were very perceptive. They were very excited. You know, I'm sure just the way even COVID's been, you get out for a minute and, oh, we get to see everybody, and we're just so excited. So seeing a new person was exciting for them, and they were very engaged and listened to every word that I said, which is, you know, you don't always get audiences to do that. So the positive attitude, my plate, your credit and you, dealing with conflict, family vitality, the mind-body connection, men in depression, preparing for an interview, time management, the value of laughter, managing stress, and choosing the simply beautiful life. Those were the things that we went with initially in 2019. This is the way our format looked, and we did new beginnings, It was what we titled it. And we had, at first, we had it by months. We had January, February, March, April, May. And we realized the second year that that's probably not a good idea. That one of the things we realized is these topics are good for everyone and a lot of people in a lot of settings. So when you put a month on it, it kind of limits it. So we changed the months out to volume. So it was volume 1, and this particular one was issue 8. That allows us to go into any setting, anytime, any year to use the same material. And now our jails are wanting them. So we have additional, and not just prisons, but jails. And they don't even have to be that either. Look at these topics. We teach these every day to everybody. So we realized we also needed to change the name. So that's what we did. We also did a formal evaluation, and they enjoyed them. This is a quote from the education specialist. The inmates that, honestly, I can't, let me move you all away. The inmates that I have spoken to regarding the newsletter enjoy them. They think they're very beneficial and interesting. The newsletters provide them with information to make them better, healthier life choices. And that was a quote from them. But we actually did a direct evaluation, and I got tickled. 5 of them responded they really enjoyed them and they wanted to use them. And one said he didn't like them at all, but he's going to use the information anyway. So I thought that was pretty good. So they also listed things that they wanted to do in the future. And they were interested in healthy family relationships, how to repair misunderstanding and communication. Can you imagine? I think that would be a big one. Institutional adjustments with regards to reentry. I think that's maybe out of our turf a little, but I'm glad they volunteered it. The safety of each individual, I can only imagine that topic. And at least we were able to make the coordinator and the specialist aware that this is the interest that they had. Maintaining a productive role. Of course, some of them were into prison reform and recidivism and opportunities afforded to them. And those were a little out of our realm, but they at least had an opportunity to voice their interests that we were able to share with the leaders of that organization.
Brenda?
Yes.
You did have a question on the recidivism to explain, maybe elaborate a little on that.
On recidivism?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's returning offenses. So, you get out of prison, but you end up right back in prison. We have no data on any of that and relevant to this particular program. But I do think that this window of opportunity, the window right before they get ready to exit, is certainly a teachable moment. It's a time that you literally have a captured audience, but you have a chance to get information to them that can help them in their lives that you wouldn't have normally. You just wouldn't get this opportunity any other way. So I think it's a great opportunity for each of us to reach out and get this information to it. We also had Alex Elswick, by the way, kind of review our information. We wanted to get his take on it and what he thought. And I kept running things by him as we would get these newsletters ready. And he would sort of sign off on it or weigh into it. And one of the things that I didn't know and I wasn't really tuned into was we got a state award for this, but we didn't get a national award. And the national reviewers made the comment that this was a little bit higher on the reading scale than what they felt that they would be able to handle. And they felt like it should be simplified. The terminology and the concepts be a little bit more simple than what we had presented. So going into the future, that's kind of some considerations that we've made. And we also changed the terminology instead of new beginnings, we wanted to broaden the scope. So we named it Life Skills 101, because you could use this in high school classes. You could use this in so many settings. And we realized we had a paradigm. Our goal was to reach this particular audience, but in reality, these topics are good for everyone, ourselves included. I learned a lot when I was writing them, or the ones that I wrote. We are thinking about creating this video clip to go with them, and maybe Zoom sessions, because we did want that live connection somehow with them. And yet, of course, it's too difficult now. And for a whole year, we weren't able to do that. So it was just hard to do. Plus, it's daunting. Using pretty FCS agents in the room full of men, and that's been locked up a while. That's a very intimidating situation. So another means to do that is Zoom and videos and whatever that can help us get that information to them in a less intimidating method. So in 2020, here's what we came up with. Good communication skills, empathy and emotional intelligence, soft skills, healthy family relationships. See, we're targeting right what they wanted. We put it in there. Social etiquette, table etiquette, dress for success. Does anybody see anything connection with the curriculum that we've had? Positive employability. So we borrowed from some of the, and were inspired by some of the themes that curriculum had, but we kind of took our own information and other publications. By the way, 4-H has a great one on preparing for a job. They have a great publication on that. So we looked at different areas to draw that information and keep it simple but to the point. We had filling out the application, interview tips, emptying emotional baggage, and of course, small steps to health and wealth is where we borrowed that one. Creating a budget, quick and easy and affordable meal planning tips. Obviously, we do that every day. So these were the new topics, and we're still in process. We're not quite through with this. And COVID should have brought a wonderful opportunity for us, but we were all in a state of shock, I think. It took us a little while to kind of get our bearings and get back on target, but we're there now and moving forward. So this is what this particular newsletter looks like. And this format, we've set up, Johnson County set up the first format for the first series, but Pike County set up this particular format, and we all use the same format. So it's a nice coordinated effort. And also this time, instead of agents doubling up, we included the entire district, and then we could have all the different months covered by a different agent. So that was helpful. And we were able to move forward with a whole new plan and more easily. So this time, District 1, the efforts that were included, Kathy Sparks, myself, Kayla Walton, Nicole Bashiri, Olivia Ferris, Sarah Congleton, Leslie Workman, Peggy Jones, Mandy Broderick. Did I say Andy Sloan twice? Maybe I did. Laura Pullen and Nellie Buchanan. So we are so happy that they were able to join us, and it made us feel like a bigger team, and it was just easier, and we were happy that we've grown. So I've explained this about how it all worked, and then here's my experience that I wanted to share with you. And we feel it was successful, and we also feel that there's a long ways to go, because this is an audience that we have never before addressed, at least in our district. And this was a very non-threatening way to do it. And it opened up opportunities that we hadn't thought about before. But it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's a place where we can reach out and help others that really need support, so that there isn't recidivism, so that they can find a way to stand on their own 2 feet. And this is one way to do it. Knowledge is truly power, and we have the mother load. So we need to be sharing it. And I think this is a great opportunity. So does anybody have any questions?
There are a couple from the chat box.
Okay.
One is, does everyone in the jail or prison get a copy?
They do. And I've learned that jails and prisons function a little differently. And leadership of each one also functions differently. Our local jail under one leadership didn't want them having newsletters because they said they would start a fire with them. And so the prison has, they have the ability to access very controlled technology. So they actually send the newsletter to all of them and they can read and view it. I don't know how that works, but in that particular prison, that's how that works. So it went to everyone in the entire prison, not just the ones in ReEntry. The ones who actually got to come live and in person were in the ReEntry program. So that was extra bonus for them because that was their opportunity to interface with others and ask questions and understand the topic better. So it's different, but yes, they all had the opportunity to get them.
On your format, is it typically a 2-page or a 4-page?
It was up to each agent and and how they wanted to write it and how much information they wanted to present. So it was 2 to 4 pages, you know, 2 actual sheets, and but front and back on each one. So they weren't huge, but they it just depended on what the agent wanted to do. It was at their discretion.
Did you approach them with this idea, meaning the prison, or did they approach you?
I approached them. I've worked in this job for 35 years this year, 35 years. And what I've learned is nobody knows what we do. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how long you've been there. People do not know what you do, or at least not the full capacity. They may know what you do with them at that moment in time, and from their perspective, that's what they think you do all the time. They have no idea of what your capacity is, and the width and the breadth of your programming. They just don't know. So you simply have to reach out. Now, they were thrilled to learn who we were and what we were capable of doing. Thrilled. And once they understood that, this education director, she hugs me. You know, when I came to the prison, she hugged me and introduced me to everybody going. They're thrilled with that kind of support. So it was nice to be appreciated. We just have so many resources that we don't think about. And we are so used to pushing our information out there, trying to get people to want it. And it takes you back a minute when they're like, oh, we're so thankful we didn't know where to get this. So we have some wonderful resources that we can share that are appreciated. Any other questions?
Great.
Anything else? Anybody else have any nuggets of wisdom that they want to share, that any experiences along this line? So we're the daring devils who just took this on, huh? I will say that as far as parity goes, the census data includes everyone in these counties, no matter where they come from. We have like a regional jail, for example, and then this prison, it's called Big Sandy on our end, but it's not really about Big Sandy. It's about people from all over. And those counties and all of our counties that have them in our counties, that's in our census data. So when they factor in the parity, they're holding you accountable for the folks that are in that, in your county. And if you don't have access to them, it doesn't seem fair that you get held accountable to do programs for people you never see. So if you don't reach out to them, with opportunities, you're kind of not doing your all equal rights opportunity, whatever, you know, that's just a window of opportunity that we all have to truly reach parity, if you want to do that. Any more questions? You guys are gonna just get out early and be so happy.
There's a good comment in here. It said, I would be completely open to working with this population, but we do not have either a jail or a prison in Metcalfe County. I would be willing to implement at our regional facility in Barron County, though.
That's kind of what we did. At first, it was the 10-county part of the district, which is the old area. Now it's the new area. I don't even remember what we're called now, but so 10 counties. I have a jail in our county. It's a regional jail. There are 5 counties included in that. The prison is in the neighboring county, but people from all over go to it. So we felt like, as a team, we felt like it was a united both opportunity and responsibility, because they reflected our counties, whether we had them or not. So the regional and these large federal prisons it's everybody's turf.
Very true.
Anything else? Okay then, guys, if you have nothing else, I'm done. I don't have anything else.
You just have lots of comments commending your efforts on this, and looks like lots of interested people on your, collaboration and format. So
Yeah, we have great FCS agents in the worst thing about it is a lot of them moved or did different things and left us shorthanded. So we had to double up and team up, and it was nice to have the whole district to turn to, and all the other FCS agents that pitched in and helped. And we have a great team. So it's a fun project when you have so many people working together on it. And if we can work through the logistics of how to make it more impactful, and document it better, we've got a ways to go to polish it, but it was worth it. It was worth every bit of it. When you can hear a guy that he didn't have a clue about some of the concepts that we were sharing, and he's repeating it back to you and trying to build on it, and you can see him working through it. And that's what I got to witness when I went there in person. You realize it's like sponges. They needed it and wanted it, and it was a good thing to have that opportunity. I was glad to be able to do it. Anything else?
I will throw this out there as far as the newsletter. I am a fan of using the tabloid size paper. You can fold that in half. It doesn't have to be stapled, and your copier only registers it as 2 copies front and back, not 4.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. That might be year 3. More improvements. Yeah, it's good. The topics, like I say, the topics are just normal topics like we all need, but they need them in a big way. You can imagine the stress that they go through on a daily basis, worrying about their personal health in very different ways than what we think of as our health concerns. They literally fear for their lives just walking down the hall sometimes. So I just can't imagine what they're going through. So to give them a few tools of breathing and, taking your mind to a different place, and it's abstract for them, but very needed. They're needed tools. So, guys, if you don't have anything else, I've kind of run through this gamut. So I don't know. But thank you so much for participating with us. It pleases me and us, and there's a few of them that's with us here. Nellie, I see Nellie, and some of them have partnered with us to do this, and we appreciate you all being interested.
Okay. If you have any further questions, you can either unmute and ask, or you can drop them in the chat box.
Or email me directly, however you want. Thanks for listening.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Brooke.